Yes, friends. So we are discussing words through a visual vocab program. Now, this is one of the most effective ways of improving our vocabulary where we see a word with a picture attached to it. And this helps us in understanding the meaning of the word. Now, the first word that we are looking here is the word clandestine. Now, clandestine would give you what kind of a meaning? Now, what is the picture that is shown over here? There's a man and a woman with their backs to each other, and they are holding their hands behind their backs. So each one is holding the other's hand behind the back. What does it mean? Is it a formal way to meet anybody? It's probably a wrong way to meet somebody or unapproved way of meeting somebody, and therefore the word clandestine would mean something negative. And if you look at the meaning of this word clandestine, it means something which is full of dishonesty, something that is illegal, illegitimate. So the word clandestine means illegitimate, something that is not approved by law is called clandestine. Somebody signs a clandestine deal with another. That means he has done it unlawfully. He has done it without the permission of the authorities. So that is how we use the word clandestine. Conducted with or marked with hidden aims or methods. Hidden aims are hidden. They are not shown to others. They are not known to others. Or a clandestine intelligence operations. A clandestine intelligence operation will also be something that is unlawful or illegal or illegitimate. And if we break this word, looking at the mnemonic, we break this word, then what does it mean? We are talking about the word plan in place of clan. So don't read the word clan as clan, read it as plan. And to plan it as something where destiny is playing a role. In other words, something we all know, destiny is all a secret. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. And therefore, plan with destiny in mind, that means you don't know what is the truth, and therefore planning it secretly would mean clandestine. All right? And therefore, we can understand the meaning of this word. We'll see the next word now. Postiche. I'm sure you recognize this slide, or you were very small when this show was on TV. Now the word postiche, do you know, remember the show? The show, it was about a marriage. Was it a real marriage? Or was it a marriage that was just a sham? This was a marriage that happened as a sham. It was not a real marriage. So the word postiche also means that when something is done as a cover, something that is not true is postiche. A wig that somebody uses, that is also postiche. So anything that is unreal, a sham, is called postiche. And if we look at the meaning of the word postiche, we will know it's a covering or bunch of hair or artificial hair used for disguise or adornment. We come across a new word, adornment. Now what does the word adornment mean? To adorn. Adorn means to decorate. So when we use it as a decoration or a disguise, then it is called a postiche. So artificial hair is postiche. Something that is counterfeit, another word for something that is not true, not real, not genuine, we use the word counterfeit. So something that is counterfeit and not what it seems to be is called postish. Now, postish has a word imposter. Who's an imposter? An imposter is a person who uh, behaves or does things which he is not actually capable of. So he is only posing himself to be somebody that he is not. And therefore, the word postiche relates or has the word imposter. And of course, when we talk about pastiche, we also talk about cheese. For example, if somebody is taking a selfie, then what does he do? He tries to show himself as a different person, a much better looking person than he actually may be. And therefore, saying cheese to a camera would also give you the reminder of the word pastiche. So you are acting as an imposter, or somebody saying cheese in front of a camera is showing a false smile. That's how we can probably remember the word pastiche. All right. Going to the next word, we see the word as consort. Now we talk about a concert when we look at a slide like this, we probably think of a concert, which is a kind of a play or some kind of an event where lots of music is being played. Then we call it a concert. But the word here is not concert, it is consort. Consort should remind you of a word, consortium. We talk about somebody having a consortium of companies. Now, if you look at the Reliance Industries umbrella, they'll have several companies under the name Reliance. So, what do they have? They have a consortium of companies. So, this word consort relates to this meaning of consortium, which means something that is attached to, something that comes under one umbrella is called a consortium. And coming together is the meaning of the word consortium, or the word consort also means to gel, to accompany, to come in contact with, to be together is the meaning of the word consort. Like these band of musicians who are playing music and they all come together, they have to be in sync, they have to be together, they have to sing together. So that is the sense that we get of the word consort. All right. So consort literally means to be together. All right. Let's see the some more meaning also. To keep company with, hang out with, and given you a sentence also, he consorts with all kinds of strange people. That means he hangs around with them, he moves around with them, he's friends with strange people. That's what the word consort means. In the next sentence, we talk about the colors don't consort. So, what is the sense that we are giving here? They don't match, they don't gel, they don't bond, they don't come together, they are not in harmony. So, being in harmony also is the meaning of the word consort. Let me also give you one more meaning of this word consort, may not be very clearly mentioned over here. Now, when we talk about God, for example, we talk about Shiva and Parvati. Shiva and Parvati are not supposed to be called husband and wife. Although we know that they are paired together, but Shiva and Parvati, when we talk about God, we don't use the word husband and wife. Husband and wife is for human beings. It's a relationship that is meant for human beings. So what do we use for Shiva and Parvati? We call Parvati as the consort of Shiv. That means she is the companion. She is the person who is with Shiv, who's connected with Shiv. So we don't use the word husband and wife here. We use the word consort. All right. So for gods also we use their companions to as consorts. Similarly, it has another example also. The heifers consort with the bulls to produce offspring. Who are heifers? Heifers are female cows. They're called heifers, and they consort, they accompany the bulls to produce offspring. That's what the sentence means. And if you look at the mnemonic of this word, the mnemonic will be the word concert itself, the word that we studied in the beginning, concert, which also means coming together of some people, a band of musicians coming together and performing for you, would be a concert. And concert also sounds like consort, so you should have concert in mind, but please identify the difference in the meaning of these two words. It's also talking about king and a queen. Some old, king and a queen. There also we use the word consort. We don't use the word king and queen or husband and wife. We use the word consort. Musical instruments coming together. For example, tabla and harmonium coming together. They also can consort. A husband, wife, companion, or a partner is also a consort. And we also use the word consort for a ship accompanying another ship. They're called consort. So there is a sense of bonding, gelling, coming together, companionship in the word consort. Okay. Next, we look at the word exigency. The word is exigency. Now, what are we seeing over here? In this picture, we see some building which is probably on fire. We also see a fire station here, a fire truck here. We see some people running helter-skelter. And what could this mean to us? The caption given here says, the firefighting team worked tirelessly to deal with the exigency. It was really a very bad fire. And what could this mean? I'm sure you've guessed by now. The word exigency will have something to do with an emergency or also urgency. So anything that is urgent in nature and requires an emergency, that would be the meaning of the word exigency. And if we can look at the mnemonic of this word, it could mean emergency plus exit. So we've got X and the agency of emergency, and both together will mean exigency. All right. And of course, exit means to run fast since there's an emergency. Therefore, we use the word exigency. Any pressing or urgent situation, the healthcare exigency, we are actually going through an extreme exigency these days with coronavirus spreading so fast in different parts of the world. There is a situation which is similar to an exigency. A sudden unforeseen crisis, usually involving danger that requires immediate attention, would be an exigency. And the example given is, he never knew what to do in an exigency. I'm sure most of the governments today are also going through similar kind of emotions where they don't know what should be done. We'll move on to the next word from here. The word is efficacious. Let's see the conversation taking place here. The doctor asks the patient, were the medicines I prescribed effective? You are God sent. You are God sent. God sent means somebody, you are like God to me, or you are like a messenger of God. So definitely the woman means good for the doctor. So you're God sent. They are the most efficacious drugs I have ever used. So we very clearly get an idea that she's very happy with the medicines that have been prescribed, and therefore the word efficacious should mean something that would be effective or have the desired effect, would be the meaning of the word efficacious. If we go to the mnemonics and the meaning of this word, it would mean marked by qualities giving the power to produce an intended effect. So something that gives the desired effect is efficacious. And it also has another example where it says the medicine is efficacious in stopping a cough. producing or capable of producing an intended result or having a striking effect is efficacious. And we talk about an efficacious law. A law that brings the desired effect is called efficacious law. And when it gives the mnemonic, it says F, EFF that comes in the beginning relates to effect. All right? And what kind of an effect? It says the effect that you dreamt of. Kash, aisa effect ho jaye. That is the sense that you get from efficacious. So literally it means a result that you wished or desired is efficacious. Next word we will look at incubus. Now what is this? Does it remind you of any event that happened in the past? You may be thinking of the Mumbai floods last year. No, this slide is of Mumbai, but it is not of last year. Way back some 12 to 13 years ago, there was massive floods that happened, massive rain that happened in Mumbai. It started around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and by about 4 o'clock, the local trains in Mumbai were to be stopped because tracks were flooded with water. So within 2 hours, Mumbai had so much rain that they had to cancel all their suburban trains. It also had a disastrous effect on the roads. The roads were flooded, their drainage system was completely blocked, their sewage was in a very bad shape, and over 1,000 people lost their lives in these 2 days. From 2 o'clock in the afternoon till the next day, there was continuous downpour, and over 1,000 lives were lost in Mumbai on that day. And this is one of the scenes taken from that horrible day. Now you see the people are walking in the middle of the road. They are not using the footpaths. They are not on the side of the road. What does this show? That there are some open manholes on the sides. And since the drains are choked and blocked, water is flowing out of them. And if anybody trips and falls in one of those manholes, he'll not survive. So people avoid walking on the footpaths on the side of the road. They use the middle of the road to walk. And this is a true picture that has been taken from those days, that day of Mumbai. Many people, many school-going children, because it started around 2 o'clock, many school-going children did not reach home also, or reached 7 to 8 hours late because of this torrential rain that Mumbai had. And a lot of people in the evening could not go back to work, and they had to spend their night in the office itself. So it was a very, very disastrous day for Mumbai. And we have the word incubus. So the word incubus would relate to getting into some kind of a miserable situation like this. All right? And incubus would relate to something where we can talk about in queue for a bus. I'm sure you people don't know what a queue for a bus is, but there were times when bus was the lifeline of a city, and there were long queues that one had to manage through to reach his destination. And therefore, this was a nightmarish, experience of somebody trying to catch a bus. All right. So the word incubus relates to those days when somebody had to wait for or stand in a queue to get his bus, and therefore the word incubus relates to this mnemonic. Anyway, the explanation given here is a situation resembling a terrifying dream or someone who depresses or worries others. That means somebody who is troubling someone or is harassing someone. We use the word incubus. Let's look at the next word, flout. Not a very difficult word. We talk about flouting in various, even in sports, we talk about, something getting flouted. What gets flouted? Rules, laws get flouted, rules get flouted. Look what this person is saying here. The starlet flouted the normal code and conventions of the award ceremony by bringing her dog on the stage. So probably carrying of the dog was not expected by the organizers, and therefore they are talking about flouting of the code and conventions of the award ceremony. So flout very simply means to break a rule. To violate a rule is to flout. And the mnemonic of this word could be the word flout has the word foul. So very clearly, when there is a foul, there is a violation of the rule, and therefore it can clearly be related to foul. All right. Now we also look at the word treat with contemptuous disregard, flout the rules. The word is contemptuous. How do we understand the word contemptuous? What is contemptuous? Contemptuous is when you look down upon others, when you feel that you are superior to others, then you are being contemptuous. Of course, the word contemptuous is already given over here. There is another word, and that is disdainful. So when you are disdainful, you're looking down upon others. You think that you're superior to others. Another word is sneering. To have a sneering kind of an attitude. When you sneer at somebody, it is like you are trying to tell that person that you're much below my dignity. That kind of an attitude is called sneering. We also have a word supercilious. Supercilious also means to be to have an opinion where you feel that you are superior to others. And a very simple word that you all know probably is to be arrogant. So these are some words for being contemptuous. And the next explanation tells us laugh at with contempt and derision. Derision also means insulting somebody, making fun of somebody is derision, and therefore fits into the meaning of these words. Now the mnemonic is very clearly flout is foul and out. Therefore, committing a mistake or breaking a rule is flout. Next, if you look at the next word, oh, this is a picture that you can probably associate with or at least understand the meaning of the word. Rotund. The word is rotund. Now, what does rotund mean? I'm sure seeing the picture, you can understand what rotund would mean. It has something to do with what? A belly. A bulging belly is rotund. And if you look at the mnemonic of this word, what could it relate to? I'm sure you guessed it right. Roti and anda. So when you join roti and anda, what do you get? Rotund. So somebody who has a lot of roti and anda, what will happen to him? He'll probably have a belly like this woman. So you become rotund, and of course, rotund also has the word toned. So round toned is something that you could associate with rotund, and therefore very clearly the word has got the meaning within the word, and you don't have to do much head scratching to know the meaning of this word. Excessively fat, a rotund man. We also talk about sound. Somebody, using a heavy tone is called a rotund tone. Full and rich tone is called rotund. And rotund alphabets, when we try to, round off our alphabets, then we use the word rotund alphabets, or something that is round in shape or spherical in shape is called rotund. I hope all you students are actually writing these words down so that you can revise them later on also. You're not simply going through the PPT, you are making your notes also on this. Please continue to make your notes. We'll go to the next word now. The word is diabolical. This word diabolical, let me remind you, I think this was class 10th or 11th. There was a chapter in the English reader which dealt with a woman who was bitten by a scorpion. Now, whether you have it currently or not, but this was a part of class 10th or 11th structure where they had a chapter where a woman was bitten by a scorpion, and people of the village had gathered together and trying to, each one was trying to recommend some way of, getting rid of the pain. But the woman would not be relieved of any pain. And all this happened. And here the word diabolical was there. So the word diabolical is not a word that you should think that this can only be learned in your graduation or post-graduation program. CBSE recommended a story which had this word in class 10th or 11th. So please remember, we are dealing with words that some are already have been a part of your life earlier. All right. Now let's see the picture and let's see what this word diabolical means. What do you see? Probably a scary looking woman. And the kind of looks that she's giving are looks of maybe a witch. So the word diabolical will have something to do with a witch, isn't it? It does mean having wicked looks or wicked intentions or witch-like is the sense of the word diabolical. Let's see the explanation of this word. Showing the cunningness, and another word for you, ingenuity. Ingenuity also means cunningness. It relates to being clever, but clever in the wrong manner. So, showing cunningness or ingenuity or wickedness, typical of a devil. So, diabolical relates to a devil. All right. And the diabolical expression on his face. So, a very wicked kind of an expression, something which is evil-like expression is called diabolical. Extremely evil or cruel, expressive of cruelty or something that befits hell. Befits means match, something that is just like hell is the sense of the word befitting hell. Diabolical, sorcerers, magicians, under the influence of devils. And of course, by now you must have guessed, diabolical. Isn't it sounding like Dianaboli? So if you break the word, Di stands for Dian and Boli of course stands for Boli. So जब कोई Dian बोले तो क्या होता है? The word is diabolical. All right, and we always can remember this word by considering the meaning to be Dian Boli. Next, the word is gingerly. Now the word is gingerly, but do we see ginger in this? Is there any sense of ginger here? Let's see if this word has any sense of ginger. Although they've used the word gingerly, but does it mean ginger? I don't see ginger on the table also. So does the word gingerly have the meaning of the word ginger? Okay, well, the meaning is out there. It's given to you. Something that is done very carefully is gingerly. When you do something in a very careful manner, then you are doing it gingerly. To separate egg whites, first crack the egg gingerly. So if you need the whites separated from the yolk, then what do you need to do? You need to crack the egg gingerly, very slowly, gently, carefully. That is the meaning of the word gingerly. And if you look at the mnemonic of this, it would be Let's look at the meaning first. With extreme care or delicacy, the issue was handled only in a gingerly manner. So when India was in talks with Pakistan, we haven't had talks with them for a very long time now. But when India or Pakistan was in talks with us, they were very delicate issues. So one had to handle it in a very careful manner. Therefore, a very experienced, some senior person would be involved in the talks. So things were handled in a very gingerly manner. All right. Uh, Here we talk about gingerly. I raise the edge of the blanket gingerly. Now, what do we mean by this? For example, the mother wants to check whether the child has gone off to sleep or not. So he slowly or she slowly raises the side of the blanket to check whether the child is asleep or not. And it is done very gently and softly. That is how we use the word gingerly. But it also has a mnemonic which is now telling you how ginger can be associated with gingerly. It says ginger. Ginger has tiny threads in it. They're very delicate, you know. And if you have to remove the threads from the ginger, you have to use your knife very carefully. All right. This is where the meaning of the word ginger comes in the word gingerly. So if you're asked to remove these threads from the ginger, you'll have to be very, very gentle with the knife, and only then you can probably separate the threads from the ginger. And therefore, ginger is related to gingerly. Okay, another movie slide. So we know these characters. The movie you remember? Yes? And the word is loquacious. Do I need to say any further? You see the movie and you see the word. And this word applies to the lady, not to the man. I'm sure you can understand the meaning of the word loquacious. Now, just to give you a breakup of the word loquacious has L-O-Q-U. All right. Now, loquacious or L-O-Q-U or even L-O-C-U both mean to speak. We use this word in eloquent, a person being eloquent in French. So when we say he's very eloquent in French, what are we talking about? That he speaks French without any hesitation, without any break. So the flow of the language comes very smoothly to him. That's what we mean by the word eloquently. All right. So in some schools, we also have a competition known as an elocution contest. An elocution contest is a contest where you're asked to speak. So the word loquacious has the meaning of the word speak. And when we say locu, or which means to speak, and acious, what does it mean? To speak a lot is loquacious. So speaking a lot, or a common word talkative, is loquacious. We have another word for loquacious and talkative, and that is garrulous. Garrulous also means talkative or loquacious. Speaking a lot is loquacious or garrulous. Let's look at the mnemonic of this word. He tells us loca sounds like mocha. So when we talk about the mocha cafe, and it's similar to loca. So what do we do in a cafe? When we gossip and we talk over a cup of coffee, then this place becomes loquacious, or we become loquacious when we visit this place. So remember loquacious to have the meaning of the word mocha, a mocha cafe where we go and chat with friends and do a lot of talking. Therefore, the word loquacious relates to being talkative. Full of trivial conversation. See, when we are discussing a lot of knowledge, information, then we can't use the word loquacious. Loquacious will relate to when we are talking senseless things, meaningless things, or simply gossiping. Then we use the word loquacious. So, a person who talks a lot does not mean he talks a lot of sense. It means that he talks of a lot of irrelevant things. So, trivial conversation, unimportant conversation, kept from her housework by loquacious neighbors. So, neighbors kept disturbing her and she could not do her household chores. So, that would relate to loquacious. We'll go to the next word now. Grimace. Look at the word grimace and then see what the captions are saying. The young boy grimaced when he saw an amount of homework he had to do. So when he saw a lot of homework to be done, what happened? He grimaced. How do you react when you get a lot of homework? Remember those days? For last 6 months, I'm sure you've been home only, so no homework being given. Everything is homework only now. But then, in your earlier school days, a lot of homework meant what? What kind of an expression did you make? Not very happy. All right? So, making an expression that is not very happy is called a grimace. It gives you a meaning here, a facial expression which expresses disgust or pain. Now, imagine somebody, a person who's younger than you, smaller than you, and you raise your hand to frighten him. For example, a child, you raise your hand to frighten him. What kind of a look will you expect from him? A kind of a look where he's trying to, hide his face, cover his face, save himself from being beaten. So that kind of fear on his face is a grimace. So when you express some kind of disgust, some kind of fear, some kind of pain on your face, then it is a grimace. Even sometimes, when you show some kind of dislike, then also there is a grimace on the face. All right? But that's not a very good thing to do. One should always have a very pleasant kind of appearance so that it helps you be good also and helps others also associate with you. So, grimace is not something that we should do. We should take these challenges or problems that come to us very gracefully. If you look at the mnemonic, this should probably make you laugh at the mnemonic. Grimace sounds like Himesh, and you all know how our dear Himesh Reshammiya sings with the twisting of his face and the facial expressions. So he sings with a lot of grimace or twisting of his face. Facial distortion. So distorting the face, contorting the face, changing the facial expressions, stretching the muscles of the face is all grimace. Contort the face to indicate a certain mental or emotional state. He grimaced when he saw the amount of homework he had to do, and she made a grimace at the prospect. So when there's some suggestion being made and somebody makes a face when you don't like it, that is also a grimace. We'll move to the next word now. Irate. His face is also grimace. He's got a grimace on his face. He's grimacing. So what does it mean? He doesn't like the situation. This word is very common when we have winter months, and when we read in the newspapers, 27 flights cancelled at Delhi airport yesterday morning. Now what happens when 27 flights get cancelled because of fog? Are the passengers happy? No. What do? They react. Somebody is waiting for last 2 hours, waiting for an announcement to come, but no announcement comes. 4 hours later, he comes to know that his flight is cancelled or rescheduled. So what does he do? He gets angry. So this is the meaning of the word irate. When people show anger, when they show disappointment, when they are furious, then we use the word irate. So we talk about irate passengers heckle the airport manager. That means these people showed displeasure, anger towards the airport manager. So that's how we use this word irate. Angry is the word irate. Uh, Feeling or showing extreme anger, irate protesters, angry protesters. And irate relates to, it says eyes red. So when you feel angry, your eyes get red. And therefore, irate relates to eyes red. And therefore, it shows that you are angry. So, irate is angry. Next word, guild. Ever come across this word, guild? You've heard of the word guilty or guilt, but not guild. What is guild? Now, I'm sure you'll be able to understand it from here. It says the shopkeepers guild took out a rally to convey their demands to the government. So there's a shopkeepers guild. And what are they saying? Look at the demands. We need better facilities. We need cheaper insurance. Value us. These are the kind of slogans that they are raising against the government. And we're talking about shopkeepers guild. So, and we also see this word written here. So what are we talking about actually? Don't you feel that this group that is demonstrating here or carrying out the protests are all shopkeepers? So the word guild means belonging to a particular profession, belonging to a certain group of people which have a common interest. So we could talk about the students' guild. We could talk about the teachers' guild. We could talk about the engineers' guild. There could be a conference happening in Mumbai and they call it an engineers guild, a doctors guild. So all this relates to belonging to a particular group or having some common area in them, among them, that is called a guild. If you look at the meaning of the word, we get a formal association of people with similar interests or belonging to a similar profession. He joined the golf guild. So, golf guild also, golfers may come together and form an association that would be called a golf guild. All right. Now, any of you heard of this game? I'll not ask you if you played this game or not, but ask your parents, they would definitely know this game. So, anybody heard of this game? I'm sure some of you may have heard this game or may have watched it on, TV also. Gulli Danda. Now, we would, there was a time when this was a very favorite game or pastime of a lot of people in India, and it could not happen with only one person. You always required a group of people or at least two people to form a group of Gulli Danda players, and therefore a guild was very important to play this game. All right, so please remember this word through the game of Gulli Danda. Now, here we see a man who's got probably so many countries in mind, and he's trying to manage his affairs between London, Paris, Chicago, Kenya, and God knows how many other places. But what does his appearance show? Is he worried? Is he happy? Is he enjoying? Or there is some kind of tension in his head? I'm sure the expression that shows is that he's got a lot of tension in his head. So the word that we are dealing with is excogitate. Excogitate actually means to think deeply, to think a lot, to the word ruminate. Something where, you go into your deep thoughts, then we use the word excogitate. Let's look at the explanation of this word. come up with an idea or an explanation, theory, principle after a mental effort. Therefore, you have to use a lot of, your thinking powers to come to a solution, come to some kind of an answer to your problems. Then we use the word excogitate. Excogitate, a way to measure the speed of light. So trying to figure out how can we do it. So deep thinking is excogitate. Meditate is also a word for it. Think deeply about a subject or question over a period of time. The scientists must stop to observe and start to excogitate. And the word that he's talking about, excogitate, in excogitate, is the word Gita, our holy book. So it says, if you try to think about Gita or read Gita, there's a lot of deep thinking that you have to do, because there are a lot of lessons to be learned from the book called Gita, and therefore we need to understand it a lot. All right, and we'll stop here, and we'll continue this in another session. Thank you.